A lot of earnings. Apple, pretty disappointing. For example, most things were disappointing, actually. Amazon was the only one, I think, that of the major companies that had a decent quarter. Reddit, Duolingo had some good performance too. AMGEN was more or less in line. How many CEOs use their position to send their business, which they control, you know, how much business they send to their vendors to impress some woman? It's incredible. Yeah, I think Greg Abel is able. The Kohl's CEO basically took his publicly traded company and slid some extra business to this woman he wanted to impress. Risking your career, throwing everything away for that. I would never, ever do that. I mean, you're basically just incentivizing like she must have done some tricks on it. NVIDIA's traded the most, 8 million shares. Amcor, that's a name I haven't seen in a while. Not a huge company. It's traded 5 million shares, but a small stock price, so I guess that makes sense. Amazon traded 5 million shares, up slightly. NVIDIA's also up slightly. Apple, disappointing earnings, down 3%. I think people wanted more out of the tariff kind of load-in, or front running. So down 3% on 3 million shares. Reddit only up 3% after being up 10% at one point. I told you I was interested in shorting it. I said, I'm tempted. And then I was stroking my chin and I said, oh, no, I won't do it. Alibaba, I should have done it. Alibaba up 5%. Pretty easy start to May. April freaked out a lot of hedge fund managers I talked to, but this is, a little calmer, which is nice. We don't want the smoke. We said we wanted the smoke, but we don't really want the smoke, man. Come on. Oh man, Palantir earnings, Hims earnings. It doesn't stop. Apple down 3%, not getting any better. But the SPYs are up. The SPYs up with Apple down is a little weird to me. That's a little weird to me. Jobs numbers obviously got people excited. No, Friday, nothing happens on Friday in earnings season. We got next week. The opening bell used to be so dramatic back in the day, because stocks would have to be opened by their specialists. Today, everything's electronic. It's not that interesting. Yeah, I mean, any CEO, this is how Hewlett-Packard CEO got fired. McDonald's CEO got fired, slightly different reason. But all these men, they get that power. Bill Clinton, and all of a sudden they lose it. Yeah, Andrew, that's why we're long PayPal. So maybe we will also buy Square. It'll join our value losers club. Apple dropping down 5%. I don't see the S&P holding in with that. I don't know. That's not good. You got a whole bunch of other weakness in Atlassian and Square and even Amazon kind of looking weak. I didn't get back into Hims. I do think shorts are going to cover, continuously cover. So look, congrats to the longs, It's not a stock that, look, and I'm a farmer bro. It's not a stock that I know that well. So I'm happy I made a profit on it and moved on. But you long-term holders, congrats, man. You'll probably get to $40, $50 real soon. I mean, if you were short, your boss is sitting there telling you, what was your thesis? No more GLPs? But the GLPs will be lower margin now. You told me there'd be no more GLPs. Are there still going to be GLPs? Yes, there will. Cover all that stock, John. I'll talk to you later about your future at this firm. That's basically the conversation right there. Hedge funds don't get in the margin calls. It's more of I closed after they got the Novo deal. You don't like HubSpot? That's interesting. Stryker off the open. My bot is somehow short this, but right off the open, dropping like a rock. Why are you worried about the COVID vaccine? COVID's gone. Nice thing about vaccines is they're only one dose usually. Unlike medicine that you take continuously, you really don't have to worry about vaccines. People who worry about them are babies. Yeah, Andrew, I'm sure the new Hims situation is very complicated. That's why I sold. I don't know what deal they cut with Novo. And then also, they have the same deal with 2 other telehealth pharmacies. Listen, it's very hard to do these types of safety studies on huge populations. That vaccine is very safe. Y'all just babies. Now remember, I'm a farmer bro, so I've never met a drug I didn't like. It is lethal. Well, it's got some minor side effects. 50% mortality. Yeah, you got to just make sure you got the right patient. I'm a farmer, bro. The Roche report reading through the Sarepta. I think Reddit said something about Google taking them off Google, which, isn't great. Google's kind of at war with OpenAI, so, OpenAI, Reddit is partially owned. Wow, I mean, shorting stuff is one thing. Yeah, listen, a booster. I mean, remember, the vaccines are dead. They can't hurt you. It's kind of weird to me, but they can't hurt you. Worst case scenario, you're gonna get a little immune response. Yeah, I can't say I understand that, but I mean, it'll spur your immunity a bit. Yeah, I'm bullish on Novo. We'll see how their earnings went, but I think Ozempic's going great. Well, I mean, other than an immunological response gains guy, I mean, immunological response is what you want in a vaccine, right? Right. I think 𝗕𝗢𝗘𝗢𝗦 would be a profitable trader. I mean, it's kind of kickboxing the discipline of being a good kickboxer and also growing what he's grown in social media. I don't agree with everything he says. I probably don't even agree with half of what he says. But you got to give the devil his due. Can't blame him. He's kind of like a Logan Paul. Yeah, there's some edge cases with vaccines for sure. Of course, my bot went short Novo Nordisk for some reason. Yeah, Mounjaro is different from Ozempic. I'll say that. Ozempic is a good brand name. People know it, recognize it. Doctors have more experience with it. Mounjaro's new, so there's a bunch of trade-offs if you're a doctor. You might say Mounjaro's maybe too much for my patient. And then don't forget insurance. I mean, Ozempic's more covered than Mounjaro. So I don't know if Lilly's a buy, but it's kind of fairly valued. It rebounded from yesterday's drop a little bit, but it's just, there's not many ways you can get it to be worth over $1,000 for crying out loud. It's a really big drug company. It's the biggest by far. I don't know about that Cantor SPAC. I mean, it feels weird to try to gang tackle Bitcoin, No, I think Mounjaro has less favorable tolerability, I thought. It's a double acting. But maybe that double acting helps. I don't know. I always thought it had worse tolerability. Yeah, I'd probably sell Lilly at 900, yeah. I'm not an expert in LVMH. I've only looked at the stock for a few hours, but it seems attractive to me. I mean, China's a huge market for them, so it's hard to always understand what's happening to the Chinese consumer. Yeah, Josh, but we got obese people too, and we're 5 times the size. So if that rule came to the US, that'd be big. I mean, it's not a negative. Haven't looked at AMD in a minute, but really understand the chip market and the PC market and the server market and the GPU market, which I think I understand the GPU market. But the PC market's pretty slow. Oh, Take-Two has been a short. I'm trying to think. I need new ideas. Apple down 4.5. Maybe sell Meta. Not sure on farming. Maybe 15. I tried to write a thesis, but not every trade. Price target is 15 USD, which is a pretty big jump from here. I think I recommended it at 8 USD, maybe even 7. So thinking about a double. I think Take-Two's a short. I don't think GTA 6 could possibly live up to expectations. Biopharma is a very old, regulated, boring industry that doesn't grow very much. Can you make waves in it? Can you make money in it? Yes. But in general, the people in biopharma aren't nearly as aggressive. They're not sending their best. The best are getting into technology. And that's just how it is. In tech, you don't need much capital. In pharma, you need a ton of capital. So there's a lot of differences. The nice thing about pharma is that your markets are built in. You don't have to worry about sales and marketing and viral tricks and churn and stuff like that. You just, once you have a drug, it sells itself. I like GOOG. I don't know if I put any time frame on it. I don't really invest that way, but I like the GOOG. Day trading is much harder than building a software company. I mean, if you think about it, day trading is basically printing money, right? There's no capital, requirements like CapEx. There's no. It's just taking money and making more money with it. It's something that hypothetically should not always be happening. I haven't really made many changes, Martin. I'm a little worried. I feel like I want to make some trades. You certainly shouldn't trade to just to trade. That doesn't make much sense. Last night I almost pulled the trigger on the Reddit short, but I felt like I didn't really understand the business that much, and I just was reacting to numbers that were just the same numbers we've been seeing for a long time. I think GOOG is hated because there's this idea that they're not executing on the most important new tech trend since the dawn of the semiconductor, which is AI. And if you're not executing on that and you helped invent it, I mean, there's just a management problem here. They should be growing 30, 40%, right? They invented the LLM. What's wrong with them? How did Microsoft grow 30% and they didn't? How did NVIDIA grow hundreds of percent and they didn't? Even Meta's growing faster than Google. It's embarrassment. They fumbled the bag. It's as simple as that. Gemini is good, but it's not selling. People aren't using it. Marketing is maybe the hardest thing in SaaS. It's getting in front of the customer is the key. Oh yeah, I Google less, but I don't think that's the big point. Google's not going. Google search isn't going away. It's more that, what have they done? It's management incompetence, and a big part of investing is management. Management has fumbled a huge opportunity. ChatGPT, OpenAI's market cap should be 50 billion. Instead, it's 300 billion. It should be role reversal. Google should have added 300 billion market cap because of AI. Instead, it went to OpenAI, Microsoft, all these other companies. Bag fumble of the decade, maybe. All right, TEZSPIRE a little bit below expectations, but still pretty strong. Evenity, about in line. Shkreli, a good number. I thought for whatever reason they would have had a bad number. I don't know why. 𝗕𝗲𝗄 down. Wow. They paid a lot of money for this Horizon deal. And 𝗕𝗲𝗄 had a stinker of a quarter, down 10%. Anybody remember the Horizon deal AMGEN levered up for? And KRYSTEXA also a stinker here. Although that could be, some of these can be related to like Q1 shenanigans that often happen, but Linza also somewhat weak, at least in my view. Oh, yeah, here's the generic Stelara. I didn't know AMGEN had a generic Stelara. Big number. Put it in the, I guess I don't even have a generics column here, but AMGEN's making more money on biosimilars than anybody else. That's ABP, that's Pembro. Man, when generic KEYTRUDA comes out, AMGEN's gonna love it. I don't think KEYTRUDA sub-Q is going to do much. Stelara is a new blockbuster. Generic Stelara is a new blockbuster for AMGEN. Especially if you combine it with EYLEA. And a beast numbers right there. I always think MicroStrategy is a short. Yeah, it's basically over for EYLEA. But if you look at Dupixent alone gets you the current market cap, so. Okay, Microsoft says US can't afford to fall behind China in quantum computers. This was a week ago. Microsoft President Brad Smith wrote, Trump needs to prioritize funding for quantum research. China could surpass. Looks like on Microsoft blog. Yeah, about a week old. Anybody want to read it? I have the article here. I'm not long that thing. It was up 10%. I thought it was overdone. All right, let's look at AMGEN. Yeah, of course I know ATYR. Kyprolis? Did it go generic? Q1 can always be very, very, very tough in pharma. Sometimes some weird channel effects. Imdelltra is pretty impressive as well from AMGEN. They took Epogen out. They took Neupogen's been out of the P&L, and Kanjinti, I think, has been out. I never said Square was a generational buy. Tell me when I said Square was a generational buy. Interest expenses not on the balance sheet. That's on the income statement. I don't know if travel will ever die, but I certainly think both VR, AI, AR, all those things kind of make traveling a little sus. Yeah, they just basically have all the old Horizon drugs. Okay, found the missing 2 million. Take every 2 million seriously. Yeah, I'd be cautious being in the S&P or any long exposure for that matter. I think we're getting a nice fat meltdown soon. I don't know if it's this quarter or next quarter or what, and I'm not saying it's anybody's fault, but here's a factoid. The last 6 years, the S&P has gone up five of those. The worst performance of those up years was up 16. All the others were 20% plus. Gotta take a break, man. You missed that performance, that's on you. But that beta is not gonna keep going, buddy. If that beta keeps going, is it because of AI? I thought that was already priced in. That's kind of why it happened. But again, in a bubble, you might get that extra year of performance before, like I said, in 2007, I was really bearish. I was wrong. It cost me a lot of money. It cost me a big setback in my career. All I had to do was wait a year. Is what it is. AI may not be priced in. Yeah, that's right. So, markets are tricky like that. You can't be too arrogant. This ain't a Kanye record. On a Kanye record, you can be arrogant. Would you guys deposit money in a Yeezy bank? Okay, let's say your last name is a certain style. Would you be okay with Yeezy bank not paying you interest on your account, for example? Yeah, I think the algorithm I wrote for that is looks like it's a little off. It's definitely repeating the same, like stuck in a doom loop or something. Berkshire just makes us programmers work harder. You're gonna have to figure out how to do 8 figures. You need a stamp to come out here. You better throw the right signs up too. You know what I think it's doing? I think it's looking at the stocks with the largest dollar change. And I wanted to focus on stocks with the largest percentage change. So you see most of the stocks are like the high dollar change stocks. I've tweaked that. Yeah, look, Berkshire will be fine. I don't know, if every stock, you just look at the portfolio, look at the management, try to get it all figured out in concert, I think it's bad to buy a stock just because Berkshire owns it. I wouldn't do that. No shade, just make your own stock picks, No reason to have to, 100% follow, I don't know if it's not clear to Wall Street. I just think that your average short seller on Wall Street these days is very timid and nervous. After GameStop, people would rather just, I'll wait till it's closer, that type of thing. Shkreli don't play that way, but a lot of these guys are scared. They're scared. I can't blame them. That's how they was raised. Yeah, Growth Limited's at a really interesting point. When I tell people that the S&P does not structurally go up, that the S&P does not structurally go up 7% a year, people are shocked. I'm sitting there, where did you learn logic and reasoning? What part of the world was there a contract that said the market must go up 7% a year? And then I hear, well, Martin, it has gone up 7% a year for a long time. And I said, okay, one time in New York, it rained 3 days in a row. And was I supposed to expect it to rain every day for the rest of eternity? Well, on the third day, I said, it's been raining a long time. It's going to keep happening. Past does not reflect the future. Post hoc ergo propter hoc. It's a simple thing. You look at what Elon calls first principles, what I call governing dynamics. Stocks are the output of a function. The input is the country, its policies, tax rate, productivity, GDP per capita growth, population growth. I say capita growth, but population growth, government spending, lending. All these things contribute to what real returns are. Real U.S. stock returns are not 7%. They're much lower. People don't include inflation, hence the real part. They don't include taxes. And most importantly, what was just said, which is why I'm responding to this, is limits. What's a limit? Well, when a country grows very large, it's harder to get it to grow. The same thing with a company. Only Microsoft seems to be defying this. When your company gets a lot of revenue, a lot of business divisions, a lot of bureaucracy, it's a little hard to grow fast as it was when you were small. Same thing with a hedge fund or a trading account. And so, you got this $30 trillion economy. It's a little harder to move the needle. You're sort of at this population growth. You're not going to get a population boom. In fact, if anything, population shrinking. That's kind of the issue. Time to take your profits back, Ojandro. We've been warning you. Now I'm not playing. Look, I'm gonna hand it to Ojandro. Right now he's, how should I put this? What is he? Rich Ojandro? I don't know. He's got it so far. Good trade. But listen, pal, your luck's going to run out. And again, he only has 5% of his portfolio in it. So honestly, at the end of the day, he's doing the right thing. He's not a baggie. Baggies are the guys that are putting 100% of their portfolio in it. No matter, look, IonQ can go to 1 tomorrow. It was 50% of your portfolio? Okay, that's a baggie right there. He said it was 5 yesterday. I hope he's not 𝗦𝗂𝗓𝗔𝗏. Oh, you sold at 37. Good. You saw what we saw. And good for you, man. You bought it all at the bottom and made a 5-bagger. You know, I bought NVIDIA for $1. I bought AMGEN for 60 cents in 1983. I was a newborn baby, but I got all kinds of stories for you. 𝗕𝗢𝗢𝗕. Yeah, I don't believe him that it's a 5% position. I think he still might be doing the baggy move. I'm trying to get financial freedom all in. I need to get in my mama's house. Apologize. Nobody knows what's going on with quantum. It's just look at Farcoin's up too. So it's just M2 expansion, man. All the wild stocks are rallying. Alejandro, you better be careful talking about my score. All I do is win, buddy. Nothing much on 𝗏𝗏𝗃, just waiting for it to fade a little. What's up, Ken? Yeah, challenge account is now flat. We can go over it. 1 second. Here are our positions. Largest position is short Rigetti, then short IonQ, then short D-Wave, then short INMB, then short Quantum Computing Inc., then Anavex, then Capricorn, then Unicure, which we plan on getting out of, RTX, Strategy, Recursion, which I probably will grow, Humacyte, and Celis. Those are shorts, about 13 shorts. Yep. Alongside, Theratechnologies, M&A play, Akero, the MASH play, Resolute, the congenital insulinism play, NVIDIA, the GPU company, Novo Nordisk, the Ozempic company, Regeneron, Sarepta, Meta, Union Pacific Railroads, Charles River Labs, Invivyd, Gilead, PayPal, American Express, Biohaven, Tarsus, and Pharming. Those are the positions, my friends. Talking about $20 billion company, IonQ. Man, it's a fake company, bro. They're not even good at their little sliver of quantum. I'm short enough IonQ in this portfolio. I sold the GOOG. I'll buy back in.